Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Season 2, Episode 18 of Fire Force. So, yeah, we're back with more of this, even though the last arc ended off on a very poor note. The resolution to Natsuku's issues and everything just it wasn't even that it was subpar. It's that it was bad. It was actively bad. Um, I I don't know what the original creator like was planning in the manga and everything when this was written. It feels like, and I don't know if this is true, but it feels like they wrote themselves into a corner. Like they didn't know what to do with Natsuku after this. And so at the end, they just kind of decided to not really do anything. That's what it feels like. Because the author didn't want to have Natsuku go with the White Clads and just be another Inca. Because that would just be too repetitive. It would be the same thing all over again. And for whatever reason I can't fathom, the author clearly didn't want Natsuku to actually be fucking saved. Because, that would be too much of an actual win. That would be too much of a good thing. We're not allowed to have good things, apparently. So instead, nothing changes. Natsuku's just left in the hands of Kureno and continues to be tortured, except now he kind of likes it. It's actually kind of worse than the position he was in before, because now it comes with a form of mental illness, basically. And I say that as someone with mental illness. I'm not just like making a joke for the sake of a joke. It's like this is basically what's it called? Oh my gosh, I have to look this. My mind is completely blanking on this. It's like a disorder name. Disorder. Stockholm syndrome. I don't know why I can't ever remember that, but it's basically Stockholm syndrome, just without romantic love or anything. Um, Basically, we have this kid who is being held against his will, tortured, and treated like shit by not just Kurno, but the entire industry, all of Hajima. And suddenly he starts to develop a fondness for it because Kurno treats him like a normal person in a way. Or rather, it's not even like a normal person. It's that Kurno treats him like scum. And the problem is, Natsuku had always been treated as if he were this special case, as if he could always do it and always achieve anything he put his mind to, and the pressure is part of why Natsuku was fucked up in the first place. But now he's fucked up in a different way because he has Stockholm syndrome and is just completely like into being tortured and enslaved and shit. It's really upsetting, honestly. Um, it was a terrible end, and it doesn't make sense. Maybe it'll come into play later. Excuse me. Maybe the fact that he's still there will be important later, and the author needed Natsuku to still be at Hajima. But the way this was executed was fucking stupid. Even if this does come into play later and does become important, and Natsuku ends up being like really important, saving the day in some way, um, that doesn't change how terrible this ending was. It was probably the worst part of this series so far. I'm not even joking you. And I'm not just saying this because, I wanted to protect the trauma baby and see him get to safety. Though that is part of it, but it's because the series made me feel that way. Literally everything was building up to the idea of like, Natsuku has to get out of there one way or the other. And it's not this big subversion of expectations by making it so he doesn't. It's just going against everything you were building up for. And giving an ending that doesn't give closure, that doesn't give any satisfaction, and just makes you feel worse. And they try to explain it away by having it like, oh, Natsuku's happy here, all pillars have their guardians, Kurano's kind of like his guardian now. And it's like, fuck that. It's so bad. Like, I would take more bullshit Tamaki fan service over that. I'm not even kidding you. The bullshit Tamaki fan service is more bearable than what they did with that. So I'm sorry for being so upset at this, but it's like this genuinely does piss me off. It was genuinely a terrible decision, in my opinion. And I can't see anything fixing this at this point. Luckily, the rest of the series is still good, is still intriguing, is still like holding my interest. Because I'll tell you this, if that was like the ending of like the first arc of this series, I probably wouldn't have continued past that. That's how bad it pisses me off. If that was the first arc of this series, and that kind of shit happened, keep in mind obviously with changes because that wouldn't make sense just as it is as the first arc, but you get what I mean. If the first arc of the series had that kind of ending and everything, if that was like what we had at the beginning of the show, I would not have continued. The only reason I am continuing now is because of everything else that I know this show is working towards. This show still has some really great moments and some really great mysteries that we're still solving. And that's what's keeping me intrigued. That's what's keeping me invested. So hopefully the rest of this season will kind of bring me back from that and keep me a little happier. Though I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Something involving Maki based on the opening. The opening has that stuff with Maki, and that hasn't come into play yet with this half of the season. So I guess we'll see. I think there's only two arcs left, or one's not really an arc. It's just I think this episode is kind of on its own, and then I think there's one more arc after that. I think I don't know for sure. I believe I said it last time. It's like I haven't like really looked at the arcs for a while. And I could have, I just didn't. That's on me, I will acknowledge that. But because I haven't looked at the arcs for a while, I don't remember exactly what they were. Again, I think... Did I... I might have actually looked them up last time and I don't even remember now. Knowing me, that sounds right. But I think... I think this is a lone episode and then there's the next arc and that closes out the season. But I could be wrong. Anyway, we're going to get into this episode, see what we have in store, and hope for the best. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Excuse me. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I'm going to say right off the bat, before we get into anything else, the one thing that I made note of and mentioned near the end of this episode, that's going to be what I close out these afterthoughts with, because there is potential for notable spoilers in there, based on something I already do know about and everything. So I'll give you a warning when I start to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about the other stuff first. So this episode is split into 2 segments, and that shouldn't be the case because it's horrible. The first segment is amazing. It's perfect, it's beautiful, it's emotionally resonant. I love it. But the fact that it is followed up by this stupid ass, just grossly terrible segment that focuses on Assault and Tamaki and Tamaki's entire bullshit, it completely saps away all of the power and emotion and everything of the first segment and makes it pointless. It's like you just destroy the tone of the entire episode by doing that. It destroys the entire feeling of what that first segment was trying to get across and the importance of its themes and ideas. You completely destroy that by following it up with that bullshit. I'm not even going to refer to it as comedy because it's not funny. Nothing about it is funny. The entire shit with Tamaki, I said that I would rather have seen that instead of what happened at the end of the last episode, but that doesn't mean I wanted to see it. That doesn't mean that I actually wanted to see Tamaki's bullshit again. It's been such a long time without that. And I was enjoying shit. But then you gotta just pull that? Because it's not funny. It's completely unfunny. It is actively unfunny. It is actively just gross and just upsetting. It's like, I want to make something clear. I understand that Japan has different cultural norms than us, has different things that are seen as normal or funny or whatnot. I understand that. Different culture, different norms for that. But this kind of shit is not funny, and it never will be. It's not funny when Oda does this in One Piece either. And I'm going to say this because, as you know, One Piece is my favorite piece of media. But that is one of the biggest things that bothers me in the series. The entire bullshit, perverted Sanji stuff is terrible. Every time. It is the worst thing in the entirety of One Piece. And yet Oda keeps doing it because I guess in Japan people find that funny, which is fucked up. That's not okay, but apparently that's a cultural thing, I guess. To where in their culture that kind of thing is more comedic. Um, and that's why we see this kind of thing, like perverted characters in all these different manga and anime. And with Tamaki, it's kind of like the opposite in a way, to where it's like, oh, she's not the pervert or anyone around her even. It's just she accidentally, due to basically bad luck, gets into perverted situations. That is no one's fault, but she still acts like it is for some reason. Um, but it's like it's just not funny. It's not okay. It's like, stop trying to make sexual assault funny. It never will be. But the first segment was so damn good. Just touching on Iris's fears and worries over finding out that her entire religion is bullshit, and finding the faith to continue on with it, even despite that, because of what it means to her and to others to do so. It's like, that's great. That's wonderful. But unfortunately, it was undercut by the stupid bullshit. And I think it would have been better if you wanted to have both of these segments. I don't know how it's done in the manga and everything. But if you wanted to do both of these segments, do the Tamaki and Assault one first. Don't end the episode off on that shit. Don't undercut the previous segment with that. No, have that be first and then end the episode off on something actually worthwhile. That would have been so much better. It wouldn't have destroyed the emotional tone that the other segment was going for. And it would have... It just would have worked better. It still wouldn't have been good, but it would have worked better. So now I'm going to talk about the one thing that could be very spoiler heavy. It's more a spoiler as to this show's connection with another, rather than, like, I think mostly anything else with this specific series. Like it's not it's something I found out about because of the internet, because people talk and don't shut up. But it's like, it's something that connects this series with another. If you watch the reaction, you already know what I'm talking about, obviously, but it's not specifically a spoiler for big events from this series. But I believe in the manga, it is revealed at the very end of the series, so it's weird that they chose to kind of reveal it here in the anime. But maybe just with the timing this came out compared to when that happened in the manga, they wanted to just throw this in. I don't know. I don't know if this part's in the manga. But I'm giving you the spoiler warning, so we'll begin with this stuff in 3, 2, 1, now. Spirit Allbarn is in this episode. It's not just like a background cameo where a character that looks like him is seen walking along the streets or something. He is referred to by name. He's referred to by the girls in the club as Scythe. Death Scythe is his other name. It is literally his position as the Death Scythe of the Grim Reaper. And not only that, but he refers to Maka by name. His daughter Maka, who is the main protagonist of the anime Soul Eater. One of the main protagonists, I should say. Um, so that raises questions because the spoiler I was talking about is at the end of Fire Force, it's revealed that this is a prequel to Soul Eater. I don't know how it's revealed. I was never like told about that or anything. But because people talk about shit and just don't understand how not to spoil people, it is something I did hear about when it happened because social media. It was everywhere. So I don't know how it was revealed, but I do know it was revealed. Um, that being said, the timeline confuses me because what was revealed was that Fire Force is a prequel to Soul Eater. Yet this seems like they take place almost concurrently. I mean, even if you want to believe that Spirit is younger here, that Maka in turn would be much younger than she is in Soul Eater. It's like I don't know. I felt like by prequel that I felt like this took place a long time before Soul Eater for multiple reasons. Um, but I might be wrong. I guess maybe it's not as long before. Obviously, do not spoil me. Do not tell me like how it's revealed in the manga. Do not tell me anything that could be a spoiler for the future of this series. I still want to be as blind as possible. Um, but yeah, it's just I am kind of confused as to the timeline with that. So I'm just kind of unsure on how this is all going. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it can't just be a cameo. Again, like he has lines of dialogue that very specifically mention Maka by name, that very specifically are the kinds of things he exactly says in Soul Eater. And this he's specifically referred to as Scythe. So it's like it's not even subtle about it. And yet we're supposed to just believe that it's a cameo? No, no, that was definitely intentional. Again, I don't know if that's in the manga originally or if that was added in to this season of the anime because of the reveal in the manga happening beforehand. I don't even know if the manga reveal did happen beforehand because again, I think that happened at the very end of the manga. I don't know if this season was already out or whatnot by then. I have no clue, honestly. Um, but yeah, it's like I don't know. Like even with the goofy and comical, intended comical nature of the second segment, there's nothing to make me believe that that was not canon. Everything makes me believe that that was happening. So I don't know. Like, besides, why would they add in a non-canon bullshit thing anyway? Like, that just feels like really out of place for this series. Um, so I think that that was canon and that was happening. So it just raises a lot of questions. I don't know. Again, no spoilers. Do not tell me big spoiler stuff. I already wish I hadn't been spoiled on this kind of thing, but I have. Um, and that was very obviously him. It's like I've been rewatching Soul Eater for the first time in quite a long time lately. Because I didn't technically rewatch it with the AM when I was making the AMV. But I've been rewatching with Danny Mata's reactions. because he started reacting to it last month for Halloween. And so I've been rewatching the series through his reactions, and yeah, that's definitely Spirit Allbarn. That's unquestionable. It's just, again, it raises some questions. That was the only good aspect of the second segment, though, even if it was confusing. Because the rest of it with Tamaki and Assault was bullshit. And again, destroyed the emotional tone that the first segment had established there. It was just extremely poorly handled and didn't feel natural in its execution at all. But even if you want to see this as an in-between episode, it's like it was still bad that they did that. And hopefully they don't continue to do that with the rest of this season. Let's just get back on track, get to the next arc, which again, probably going to be the Maki stuff, considering the opening. We'll see. In the meantime, though, tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of all of this about the two different segments and how diametrically opposed they were to each other. Let me know your thoughts on all of that and more down in the comments. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.